Good evening. Calling the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee to order. We don't have any visitors here, so we'll just start with the amenities reports. Robert, you want to start with Metfield?
Sure, glad to do so. Overall condition for the fitness center was looking great as always. It's been very busy most of the days that I've visited. The pavilion area, when I was there on the 29th, looked okay. The restroom bins were full though, and there was no toilet paper in the dispensers. I actually asked someone later when I circled back around to the fitness area, and she had already taken care of it. Playground wasn't being used at the time. Pickleball courts weren't being used at the time, but looked great. The pool area, of course, was closed for the season. As far as I could see, everything looked great. Areas for review, I noticed in the bicycle park, there are several boards rotting out on the wooden elevated structures. And that would be a problem if someone hit that and they actually caved in. I don't know who and where, okay. And so shoring those up or replacing them would be great. One of the smaller drum fixtures in the playground, the skin is broken, looks like someone duct taped it together, which actually keeps the water out, so it's functional. On the actual head, it's been busted through. And I've also included pictures of both of these. The member interactions, the few members that I spoke with in the fitness area all suggest we add on, and we're under the understanding, which I didn't respond to, that Metfield would be expanded next year. I didn't reply to that, and I don't know what our plans are in that area. They also, of course, asked about the core equipment piece again, and I've kind of left that because I don't want to make any promises that I can't verify.
What piece was that?
The core piece of any core piece of equipment for Metfield.
Oh,
in the
abdominal
makings.
cores?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. All other interactions in the fitness area have been great, and no other additional observations. It's all good.
Regarding the question about the expansion, so at about last year at this time, or maybe even further, at one point we were talking about consolidating our member resources department and constructing a building.
They brought that up.
And we were once we would vacate the other two locations, then we were going to take over that space at Metfield that is currently being used by member resources and expand the gym. We've since put that idea on hold, so the expansion of the gym facilities is on hold. So we did share that information with the community about a year ago at the budget meeting that took place in November of last year. So maybe that information hasn't gotten out to everybody. So just so you're aware, so yeah. Those plans are on hold, so we're not going to be expanding that facility anytime in the near future.
Thank you both for that. I appreciate it. Okay, I have Branchwood and then I have Loch Lomond, starting with Branchwood. I was over there yesterday about 1 o'clock, and it was kind of slow, which is rather unusual. The busiest area was the walking trail, followed next by the fitness center, followed next by open swim. Nobody was using anything else. Areas for review, I have none. I did not speak to any members, however, I did come across a social media post that I wanted to share with you. A member had several pictures of the paved walkway complimenting how beautiful it was. And from there, several people tagged on stating, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's very natural looking for a hard surface trail. And then one other stated, it's a great disc golf course, I absolutely love it. So I thought I would share that. Under additional observations, it seemed like perhaps the porta potties may not have been serviced. 2 of them were out of toilet paper. One had a random roll sitting on the bench area, so I did speak to the employee at the front desk and advised them that the one was completely out. And then over at Loch Lomond, so I was there about an hour later, 2 o'clock. Actually, it seemed like there was more people there. 15 cars were in the lot. Most of the activity was on the walking trail. followed next by the small dog park. Overall, the park was in good condition, and the only thing I want to say is thank you very much. The new flag is up. It's beautiful. Thank you. Kathleen?
All right, Blowing Springs. The park looked great as usual. I'm always so impressed when I pull in. The grounds are manicured and clean, the trails were cleared. I popped in a couple times over the last month, but most recently this past Friday for Flea in the Park. I ran into Joan and Jessica. It was a great turnout. I was sure to go Friday before the crowd on Saturday. Areas for review, the bathrooms and trash could use more attention during the busy days. Maybe consider adding a couple new trash cans to help with overflow. It would be great if we could also move one of the new bike racks. I think those green ones looked new, over by the bathrooms, because people are still leaning their bikes in when they hop off the trail to use the restroom. Member interactions, I'm always sure to chat with the ladies up at the front office and whoever's working in the gear garden. So Susan and Warren both said everything's been looking great, and it's been a busy fall so far. I spoke with one member and she had feedback on the checkout process. I think the POS has always just been a point of concern for people, and I explained to her that in order to update that POS, all the POS would need to be updated. And I ran into Kevin Curley from the country club. We frequent quite a bit, so we have gotten to know him, and he confirmed that that was the case. And that's nice that he's over the gear guard now, because then I can chat with him frequently about any feedback that I'm getting. And then additional observations, Joan, you mentioned that there was going to be a meeting to discuss Blowing Springs and plans kind of for the future and how we handle events and kind of what the tipping point is. Any feedback from that yet, or have y'all had it yet?
The meeting hasn't happened. It'll be
Cool.
before the kindergarten season really kicks into high gear
Nice.
next year. And
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, the meeting hasn't happened yet. Our plan is to sit down with marketing in the Gear Garden in early 2024.
Perfect.
So that we think through how do we better manage through some of these things.
Nice.
Because we do get feedback from time to time that, you know, as great as all the events are, there's some trade-offs, so.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I know you'd mentioned that you'd be willing to
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
sit in on that meeting,
Mhm.
yeah. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, overall, everything looked incredible.
Thank you, Kathleen. Brian, would you like to tell us about Tyree and Granton Parks?
As a matter of fact, I would. Tyree, of course, looked good as usual. Trash is being empty. There was mitts available. The restrooms were relatively clean and stocked with all of the appropriate tissues and soaps, et cetera, et cetera. It was rather odd. It was a Saturday when I was out there, and there literally was no one at Tyree Park. At the very least, I see trucks and boat trailers, and there was nothing out there. So I had the park to myself. Very, very unusual. I did fail to mention at last month's meeting, thanks to the appropriate individuals who did the shoulder repair at the main culvert under the road there, it was eroded to the point where if somebody were to drop a tire, they're calling a tow truck. There's no two ways about it. So they had filled that in with gravel, added some rock there to kind of help that. There's still a couple of questionable spots, but all in all, it's a huge improvement, whoever it was that took care of that. And I noticed that the dock bumper strip that I had mentioned last month has been repaired as well. So thanks to whoever took care of that, Rick. There was no guest to talk to, as I had stated. So moving on to, actually one thing on Tyree that I did want to mention that I almost forgot is it looks like someone has decided to do some off-roading at Tyree this time, both the west end and east end of the park. I don't know what to say other than it's just unfortunate that there are some people that don't respect our amenities as much as the rest of us do. Moving on to Granton, there again, the lawns looked great. The trash was being emptied. Thanks to whoever replaced the trash can on the west end that was rotted out. So we've got a nice new trash can there that's been secured to the tree. I did talk to a gentleman that coincidentally I talked to last month out there. I ran into him again, him and his black lab, doing the same thing, out exercising the dog and listening to the ball game on his little headset that he had. Chatted it up with him. One of the things that he mentioned, other than he does love Granton Park, he thinks it's a great park. is the constant construction barges that are tied off at the dock out there. And I think one of the reasons that he might have brought that up is he tends to park there a lot with his fishing boat, because he likes a little bit, I guess apparently there's a little deeper water on that plastic pier as compared to the wood pier. So he tends to pull in there and load and unload.
And we did have what we considered an abandoned barge that had been there for a long time, and it went in our recent auction. So there was no title, no number, no identifier on it at all.
Right.
And it was there for about a year. And so it's no longer there.
Yeah. In this case, this time, there was 2 motorized platforms, for lack of a better term. They're not really pontoon boats at that point. One of them had absolutely no registration, no kind of markings whatsoever on it. That may be something that I might address with the Lakes Committee at their next meeting and chat about that. That seems to be appropriate. And while we're on the subject of registrations, for some reason, I took a notion this time when I was at Grant just to kind of keep my eye on registration. And I did notice a gentleman who had launched a fishing kayak, and I went over and looked at his vehicle, and there was no registration on his trailer. I'm going to assume he probably was not supposed to be there. I did check all the kayaks at both of my parks on the kayak racks, and all of those boats have current registration on them, so that was great to see. And one thing, as a bit of I guess, tongue-in-cheek, there is a pontoon trailer that's parked at Granton that has expired registration, has basically a notice of violation attached to the tongue, and my understanding is that belongs to us as POA members. I believe it is the Marina's pontoon trailer. So that's something we may want to look into, just so that we're not being hypocrites by requesting other people get registrations, if in fact that is true.
Just so you know, we are aware of that, but I will check on, when you say registration, are you just saying it doesn't have the 23 BB
That is correct.
sticker on it?
And it did have a violation tag on the tongue of it, which there again, it's been written up apparently at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, so again, you're right, that should be taken care of. Just so you know, that is our trailer. We have to leave it there because whenever Trey has to remove a boat to get it fixed, that's the fastest way to get it out.
Right.
And so we store it there, and we are not done winterizing boats, so they will be back and forth. But I think the tag was done by one of our on-the-spot rangers before he realized what he was tagging. So you're right, it should have had the 23 sticker on it. I don't know if it fell off or if it didn't get placed on there, but we are aware of that, and we'll get both those things taken care of.
There again, a little tongue-in-cheek on that one, but I just thought I'd throw it out there for no other reason than just the humor. At least I think, anyway. Yeah, other than that, once again, both the parks look great as far as the lawn being manicured, et cetera, and I'm glad to see that we're getting some repairs done, and that's pretty much all I have.
Brian, thank you. JP, happy Monday. You want to tell us about Lake Ablon Park?
Not much. There's nobody there, not a soul. I've been there twice in the last month. Once there was a car park there, but I think it was somebody got on a bicycle and went somewhere. But I mean, this place is still spotless, so thank you guys for maintaining it. The only thing I noticed different is the line across the lake that used to separate the swimming area from the other area is gone. So I guess you can take your boat all the way to the beach now. Is that the idea?
It's more that those buoys are very expensive, and we take them down when the season is over so that we can store them, so they're not sitting in the water for a full year. I mean, technically, yes, but most people that boat on that lake know that it's pretty shallow past there. But also, you know, the dock is still there, so most people know that's kind of a swimming area. But that's why we take them down, to protect them during the long year.
Okay. Didn't get to speak to anybody or anything, so that's really it.
Thank you, appreciate it. Richard, how were things over at Kingsdale?
The tennis center, I was over there a few times, and it looks fine as far as I couldn't really see anything that needed to be addressed there at the tennis center at all. Walked around the rec center, it's looking pretty good. I mean, it looks like it's getting ready to open fairly soon. I did notice the only thing at the rec center in the, was it the southeast corner of the building, there's a flagstone planter, and there's a cornerstone that's been knocked out of there, missing there, just like one piece in the corner. That's really the only thing I kind of noticed there. The pools, they're all shut down with tarps over them, and they look to be in good shape. I noticed someone had thrown a golf ball on top of one of the tarps in the south pool, the bigger pool, sitting on the top of the tarp. But they look good. The mini golf course was in good condition. Looked like there'd been new numbers on the holes painted recently. Is that true? They look really good. So that looked good. I really didn't notice anything that needed to be done there either. There were a few empty water bottles laying around, like, you know, just hadn't been picked up, 3 or 4 of them. The playground, the new playground structure's there. They're still, I think, waiting for the swing set to come in, but everything, you know, looked pretty good there as far as I could tell. The bathrooms were clean. I went through those, and they seem to be fine. So that's about all I had. I did want to mention one thing. Like, my wife and I went down to Hot Springs and spent, it was about 2 weeks ago, I guess, and played in a tennis tournament down there. We were down there 3 or 4 days, and stayed in a vacation rental next to the tennis center. Anyway, the vacation rental had fee structures for all the Hot Springs amenities. I wish I'd have taken one home. I meant to, and I left it there. I forgot to, but I just wanted to mention that I went through that pretty carefully. You know, the pickleball fees, and they charge fees for everything. I mean, fitness, pickleball, things that we have for free. You know, if you get the activity card for $40. And I mean, it wasn't that they were that expensive, you know, compared to other places, but they're way more than we pay. And I'm kind of wondering how we how we do it, actually. But tennis, you had to pay to play, you know, probably double what we pay. And pickleball was like $8 a day, I think, if you didn't buy a yearly pass. And I think a yearly pass is around $400 a year, something like that. But it was just kind of interesting to me because it's kind of a similarly situated, you know, not exactly the same because they're all kind of 55 and over. But I just wanted to mention that. I thought it was interesting because we really have a bargain, you know, for what we.
I think, you know, we've done some price comparisons, and I think our fee schedule is easier to understand. It's still complicated when you talk about golf and rec and lakes and everything that we are. It's still a big fee schedule, but it's half the size of Hot Springs, and our prices are more affordable. And we do give out booklets, like guest booklets, for our visitors, like at the RV park and so forth, which allows people to understand where to get links to the fee schedule and to make it easier on guests. So we have something similar to what you probably saw, but regarding the fee schedule, yeah, we're a much better deal and much easier to understand.
And Tom, they pay significantly more in their assessment fees still.
Yep.
Everything seemed to be quite a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. The amenities are nice, I thought, you know, at least for the ones I saw. And I did kind of go around and look at some of went to the fitness center and the pool and the marina. We took kind of a hike around, and, you know, we were at the tennis center for 3 days all, and it was very nice, but it was just, I noticed that it was quite a bit more expensive.
Yes, thank you for that. And I've read articles stating the same, comparing the two and how much of a better deal ours is. So value, I like that. I like that much better. Thank you, value. So thank you to the management and staff here for all that you do for us. Mary, would you like to take us to Lake Anne and London Park, please?
So as I say every time, I'm kind of lucky because I feel like that I have 2 of the best places to go visit. They're beautiful, they're peaceful. Most of the time, I typically happen to be the only one out there with my family, which is kind of nice for early Saturday morning visits. So it looks like that my main area of concern that I have is at Lake Ann Park. There's actually a leak. So you know where the pavilion is? You know that there's that like water main thing right there? That's leaking. Did you guys know that?
That's a backflow preventer, and yes, it needs to be rebuilt.
Okay.
And there were some parts that were on order, and they've come in now. I just talked to
Oh, perfect.
to Charlie in our water department today, and they just need to get that scheduled.
Okay, perfect. So that was the main thing I saw because it was leaking pretty good. And then when I was at London Park, everything looked really great. I couldn't go check the men's bathroom. It was like it was locked from the inside, but there was nobody in there. So I didn't know if it was like locked on purpose.
From time to time, we have issues in the bathrooms, and when they are bad enough that we don't want anyone in there because of the grossness factor, until we can get it clean, they'll be locked.
Very well.
That's
Okay.
likely what happened there.
Okay, because we were kind of wondering, because we're the only people here, but it was like locked from the inside. We couldn't figure that out. But the ladies' restroom looked great. And then, as always, just the drive-in there's really bumpy, and I know that you guys are working on addressing that. But other than that, everything looked fantastic. So,
Mary, thank you. Matt, good evening. Would you like to talk to us about the gun ranges?
Okay, so it had been a couple weeks since I'd been out there last. Same as usual, everything's in good order. You know, all the targets are stacked when they're not in use, parking lot's clean, walkways are all clean and clear, so really everything looks good out there. I don't really have anything for the review for right now. Member interaction, I did speak to another guy that he likes going out there this time of the year because a lot of them like to go out there and shoot rifles, and so he says he uses it quite a bit, and he tries to take his two sons, so said it's always a good place to take him and likes the range. So additional observations, I don't have anything at this time either.
We're just zipping right through tonight. This is awesome. We'll all be home early for dinner. Unless, Chris, what do you have for us tonight?
Let me get unmuted and get my picture on the screen here. Could you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Tanier Creek is my first amenity here, and I went there this morning. And on this fine Columbus Day morning, there was 15, 20 folks out there. Looked like mostly visitors and stuff, and they were just walking around, hiking around the park, a couple dog walkers. The area is looking great, by the way. There's really nothing extraordinary to report on. I talked to a couple of ladies that were there watching the waterfall. One was from Rogers, and she had brought her friend there that was visiting from Utah. I asked, what attracts them there, and they says they just wanted to come and hang out for the beauty and the peaceful vibe. The one area I noted for review is small. It's a small sign on the pavilion that states you should contact Rorton Hall for information about renting the pavilion. So obviously that should get an update sometime in the near future. And that's all I have for the Tanier Creek facility. Moving on to the trails, the soft trails and the greenway, good condition. There again is nothing for me to note. I'll tell you as an observation though, that the Trailblazers have an all hands on deck call to the volunteer group. They're being mobilized for a really big mountain bike race coming to the trails this weekend. The race is called the Big Sugar Classic, and it has attracted a large pro field with world champion riders from various disciplines, riders that were in the Tour de France, and a big stacked pro field competing for what they have as a $65,000 purse. And that's running right through our backyard, so that's going to be really cool to see some of the world's best athletes. And you can Google it. Folks can Google it if they want more information to go out there and find out when they might be coming through your neighborhood. And, there's going to be hundreds of amateurs involved with that, too. And they're staying at our Airbnbs and eating at our restaurants and stuff. So it's good to have these folks in town, I think. And I think that is about it for the trails. Also, Deborah, I have, when we get to new business, I have one little proposal to add in there, so please stop on me.
Will do, thank you. That concludes the amenity reports. Joan, did you have the monthly usage statistics from?
It hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
So I can give you a double update for next month.
Perfect. She says it has not been released yet, and she will update us again next month. So that moves us to new business. Chris, so I guess you're up.
Okay, so on new business there. Blowing Springs and the Gear Garden. We know we have a great thing going with the Gear Garden, and we know that there's trade-offs associated with that success. I'm proposing that before we get into talking about the Gear Garden schedule for next year, that we step back for a second and really roadmap with community involvement if necessary. Deborah is certainly well connected with everybody she's talking to at the Gear Garden in Blowing Springs, but to look at the mission of Blowing Springs and where the community wants the Gear Garden to go, and let's roadmap this out so that we could do things in a well-organized manner. Because if it's going to change its character, we'll have to be very careful about that. And we're right on the edge of being able to do that or not. Over the weekend, I saw that overflow parking from the Gear Garden actually was like 10, 15 feet away from the last primitive tent camping spot. So it's an example of the two worlds kind of encroaching on each other. So a strategic road mapping of where we want this to go would be awesome. And that's my proposal.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, the Director Hagan, you're the only one here tonight. Did you have any words of wisdom for us?
No words of wisdom, but I just want to commend the Recreation Committee and Joan and her team for a wonderful Flea in the Park this past weekend. My wife and I attended on Saturday and thoroughly enjoyed it, and spoke with several members who really appreciated having that event because it helped build a sense of community. And I spoke with one, I'm an RVer, I spoke with another RVer who didn't know that was going to be there, who was visiting the area to visit relatives and go to crystal bridges, things like that. They thought they'd hit the jackpot because they were able to just walk over to this fun fair and food trucks and things like that. So just a big shout out, Joan, to you and your team. So that's it.
Thank you for that. Unfortunately, I was out of town last weekend, so I didn't get to go, but I always look forward to that event every year. Tom, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, a couple things. At the last board meeting, two large projects were approved. The one is the Kingsdale project, which is going to be a renovation of the clubhouse there, the pro shop, and then the restaurant. That will commence in December of this year. And then the second project is the Tanyard Creek practice facility. That's going to be a complete redo of that facility. That will commence in November of this year. Once we start working on that project at Tanyard Creek, we're going to have to close the driving range for the duration. We should reopen in September, so we're going to displace all those people to practice up at Highlands and at Scottsdale. And at some point, we'll have to close that parking lot also because of the construction. We'll try and keep it open as long as possible. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem with regards to potentially in the spring with the people trying to use Tanyard Creek Nature Trail. The overflow parking, some of that may not be available. So two big projects underway, real exciting. Also, the last tour at the BVRC occurred a couple weeks ago, and Joan and her team have done a great job. I think that was our largest tour, almost 200 people, and a lot of smiles, a lot of people very pleased. Yesterday we had a Trailblazers appreciation event at the Gear Garden, and we raised just under $1,000 for local trail maintenance. It was a fun event. A lot of people were there. I don't know, several hundred people were there. It was a good time. And then on November 9th at 6 p.m. will be our community presentation of the budget. It's a riveting meeting. I'm sure all of you will be in attendance, so it's so much fun. November 9th. I don't see you guys writing this down. November 9th at 6 p.m. It'll be here in the boardroom, and it'll be our. But it's so much more important to have you right there, here. I got a good spot for you right there. But if you can watch it live stream, that would be great. We always get questions about the budget, even though we have this meeting. They always, what's included and so forth. So we encourage you to attend, whether it's in person or remotely. And that's it.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Rick, what do you have for us tonight?
Our final reminder about the Windsor Drawdown, because by next month it will already have started to occur. Next Monday, the 16th, we'll commence that activity, and we're going for 3 inches a day. Rain can slow progress on that, but we're looking to close the valves on February the 19th. Earlier this year, to allow the city to do some maintenance work on a culvert at the Pontoon Park area. POA Rangers, we're busy in September, but things are beginning to slow down a bit seasonally. 3,427 contacts, 205 non-members removed, 310 contacts by boat, and 99 hours on the water. Compares running a little bit behind this time last year, just a little bit. In grounds maintenance, we are continuing to do some dock maintenance and sealing of the wooden structures. Let's see here, some of these are repeats from last month. The siding that was spoken of at London Landing in a previous meeting, we have to get that pattern of siding, and then we can make those fixes. There's just some minor damage there. Oh, I'm sorry. Under staff, we'll be letting our seasonal lake rangers go beginning next week, letting them go for the season as we ramp it down for the winter. And our 2 most recent hires, one in grounds maintenance and one at the gun range, are both working out extremely well. Our Lakes Ecology Department had 3 third graders from Baker Elementary School out at Lake Windsor Dam last Friday, and the kids got to learn about lake ecology and a number of other stations along the way. There was a previous field trip that have to be postponed due to weather. We're going to reschedule that one. We are starting a new pond. We're going to stock it with bluegill next week. We'll hold those through the winter and be able to release those in the spring in the lakes. And something to think about as the weather gets colder. By this time next month, Lake Brittany will have been stocked with its first trout stocking of the year. So just still busy, just a change of seasons.
Thank you for that. John, good evening.
Hi. So over at the gun ranges, we're still extremely busy. Year over year attendance is up again 30% for last month, and then yesterday we had another huge tournament out there. Now that we're fully staffed, everything went extremely smooth, but it was an all-day event from I think staff got there at 6 o'clock and we left about 7 o'clock last night. So it was a very large tournament, kind of the capstone on our tournament season. From here on in, we're kind of at the small local event level, so I know everybody's happy to have some rest. That's all I've got.
Thank you for that. And saving the best for last, Joan, what do you have for us?
Yeah, a couple of updates, thank you. The playground that was mentioned earlier, overall has gotten really good feedback. There was some feedback on social media, and they reached out to Tom. Some people were concerned that it was too small, and then we shared with them that, we always knew that we couldn't afford to do everything all at once, and it's a two-phase project. So we, told them that in the future, we don't know if it's going to be, 25 or when, but we are planning to add a secondary structure. And again, as you all worked on the budgets and ordered it, that was not at the very top, but it was certainly in the top half. So in case you hear anybody and they make any comments about, maybe it's small, we have to start somewhere, and we're really happy to have that piece. Lots of kids are enjoying it, and in the future we'll add on, but we also have some other great parks with playground equipment. Appreciate several people mentioning Flea in the Park. It was another success. It was our 5th year, 2 since COVID, and what I like best about it is it takes the entire village, if you will, the rec division to come together. All my managers help, and quite a few of our part-time employees. And we begin setting up on Thursday, and it doesn't end until Saturday night. So it's a 3-day, pretty intensive thing. But one of the best things is just to see the variety of people that come out. On Saturday, we have the kids zone. We ran out of pumpkins around 1:30, so they get to do free pumpkin painting. We have some games, and that's always popular. The vintage cars come on Saturday. We had the food trucks, as was mentioned, and of course all the vintage inspired Flea vendors, and then some of our people are more handmade goods, from foods to crafts. So it was really a nice time, and the weather was great. We got a lot of positive feedback for the whole team, so I've already been sharing that with Team Rec. So it's one of our favorite things to do. And also going on the park, if any of you were there for the Trailblazers event that Tom talked about last night, we have a Airstream rally, and they've been coming to see us for the last 6 years now. So the back half of the park is full of Airstreams, and they depart on Wednesday. And then the following week, we have another rally of, they call it Discover the Ozarks. It's smaller, but it's about 13 RVs that come and stay in our park. So the park stays very, very busy all the way until really after Thanksgiving. So that's fun there. We are getting ready for the next event, which is Not So Haunted Mini Golf, and we will be setting up for that Friday, and it will be lit starting Saturday night. You don't have to go at night. There's plenty of vignettes that are all around the course. Some people don't even play mini golf. They just go and get some photo ops and walk around and look at things, so that's always fun. We will keep it up for 2 weeks, a little longer than 2 weeks this year, all the way until the day after Halloween. So it's free. We have equipment out there. We have gotten very creative because we don't have a lot of electricity out in that area of the park, but we get pretty creative, and there's always something new every year. My team and I work hard on that, so come on out, take a look. BVRC, as Tom mentioned, we had our last tour recently. We are on schedule to open still sometime in November. We haven't released a date. It'll be a soft opening when we do. We still have a number of things that are going on. Cox is out there today working on the internet and all that, so pretty exciting. But we will be open, my guess is in mid-ish November, so more to come on that, and certainly as we have a date, we'll let you know. The parking lot has been paved, resealed. We have added new lights in the parking lot, so lots of the security things have gone on as well. Speaking of lights, those of you that play pickleball, we added new lights at Metfield. Interestingly enough, some people said, can we have the lights like at Branchwood, which are really old lights? And the answer is no, they don't make those anymore. So these are LED lights, so they do look different. But if they're not, you know, if we need to re-aim them a little bit as we play, we can, but they're really nice lights, so we're excited about that. Dog Days of Summer happened 2 weekends ago, and the animal shelter had record-setting paws. They had about 50 more dogs than last time, so they raised over $1,500 for the animal shelter, so that's really good. And then they have their Wiener Takes It All races this weekend. We also support them on that, and that is at Scottsdale. That's fun to go to even if you don't have dogs, but that's a big money maker for them as well. They also had a booth at Flea in the Park, and they raised over $600 for the animal shelter there. So really good things, because as you all know, the animal shelter gets more and more abandoned animals, and they really need the support of the community. So the marina is closed now, and as mentioned earlier, one of my favorite musicals. But anyway, I digress. Trey is working on getting the boats winterized and put to bed, so to speak. So that's a process that takes a while, so that we're ready to go in the spring. We had a tennis mixer last month at tennis, so that was the last of the, they might try and squeeze one more in, depending on how the weather goes in early November, but we've had mixers every month since April, so they've gone really well. And the youth tennis classes are in session. They're about halfway through now. And we also are working on the tree house down at Bluebird Trail behind Casey's and Premier Dermatology. I would say they're about 85% done. They will put small climbing ladders and little slides. If you've been down there, it's not real high off the ground. It was planned that way so that adults can climb up as well as young kids, but it's a neat view, and they're working hard on that. And I believe that is about it, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Joan, thank you. Where did you say the Wier Dog Races would be this year?
Yeah, it's always at Scottsdale Park, right near where the baseball fields are.
Loch Lomond Park.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said
Okay, thank you.
You're right, thank you.
Okay, so it's still at Loch Lomond.
The dam side of Loch Lomond, yes.
Thank you.
Loch Lomond Park, sorry for the misspeak.
That's fine, no worries, thank you, appreciate that. Thank you for the update. Any other last minute thoughts, questions, or concerns? All right, then we're gonna call it a wrap. Our next meeting is Monday, November 13th at 4 o'clock again, right here in live stream. Chris, good night. Everybody, thank you very much, appreciate you all.